Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Thrive After Sports podcast. This is your host, as always, Taj Deshawn. I'm here with Abby Amelia. Oops, I almost called you by you're married now, Abby Hood. Abby Hood, what's up, Abby Hood? Abby Hood kind of sounds like a rapper a little bit, Abby. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I know.
Well, anyway, I'm probably going to release this episode in 2022. So Happy New Year to everyone who's listening to this. I'm here today. I'm honored to be here with Abby. Honored that she took some time to even share with us a little bit. I worked with Abby thanks to the help of Athlete Soul. I worked with Abby because of Athlete Soul. So shout out to Miriam Glass. Shout out to Athlete Soul. I want to remind everyone that Athlete Soul still does have scholarships available. We're looking to serve as many former athletes as possible. Abby was a referral from Athlete Soul, and I had the pleasure of working with her. But I wanted to have Abby on today because she has a great story of how to thrive after sports, how to transition, and how to become or how to find yourself in a lane that you're excited about. And Abby's story is a testament to what it looks like to going from playing your sport to actually finding something that you can apply yourself and find just as much enjoyment in and be great at, just like you were in your sport. So with that being said, Abby, I'm going to let you take it away. I know you were a gymnast at Auburn, but can you just quickly introduce yourself and just kind of tell us a little bit about what it was like when you graduated from Auburn and maybe some of the challenges that you faced no longer being a competitive athlete?
Yeah. My name is Abby Hood now. I was a gymnast at Auburn, and now I am the volunteer assistant coach for gymnastics at Utah State University. When I was at Auburn, as athletes, we put everything we have into our sport. And for me, that's how it was. I did gymnastics since I was about 3 years old. So total 21 years. In gymnastics, you don't do a whole lot else. That's pretty much it. You spend your life in the gym. So being at Auburn, I loved it. I loved my coaches. I was all in, and then getting out, it was kind of like a big eye opener. Like, what now? Because I feel like we all chase the feeling that we get when we compete, and there's really nothing like it. So it was kind of like a soul search after I left, because when I graduated, I coached at a club gym. And so it was kind of just like figuring out if that's actually what I wanted to do, or if it was just all I've ever known and I was afraid to try something else. So I was very into baking and cooking and stuff. So I actually opened my own online bakery and tried that out. And it went really well, but it was one of those things where I had to try it out to see if that's something I would want to do as a career. And after about a year, I got pretty burnt out, and that was one of those aha moments where I could check the box, and that was not it. And so I know we started communicating and with Athlete Soul and everything, and I just wasn't sure if gymnastics was it, or like I said, if I was just afraid to try anything else, or I didn't know what was out there. And so working with you really helped me look at all those options and kind of try to see myself in all of those places. And at the end of the day, I really do love coaching gymnastics. And then this opportunity opened at Utah State with my husband and and that was kind of one of those moments where I was this is, I think, where we're supposed to be. And after being here and being in the environment that I wanted to get back in, like college athletics, it is 100% what I wanted to do. And that's awesome, because now I know it and I don't have to have in the back of my mind, what if, because I absolutely know this is where I want to be. This is the way that I can show leadership the best and inspire people the best. And so that was really the biggest piece of that environment that I missed. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, Abby. And I really just want to acknowledge you for even asking the question. You know what I mean? Asking the question of, is gymnastics it? Are there other things that I want to explore? And I say that because, and I think I even shared this with you early on, a lot of the athletes that I've worked with over the years, they only want to stay around their sport because it's comfortable, you know? Yeah. And so for you to even say, hey, this is okay, but I just want to, you didn't want to have that lingering question. I remember you telling me that. I don't want to like go through the rest of my life and wonder what life could have been like if I explored things outside of gymnastics. So, you know, props to you for even asking the question and being willing to go there. And it's funny because normally when someone is asking that question, there's other things that they end up doing. But for you to go back and have peace of mind, like, yeah, gymnastics, it's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's just really cool to see. I don't think I've ever had that happen. And I've worked with a lot of athletes, and you were the first one to ask the question and then come back. So it was cool to see. And then a lot of people who are listening to this, they're like, whoa, she went from Auburn to being like a coach at Utah State. That sounds really cool. So I know that didn't happen overnight. I know, you know, Utah State wasn't just waiting on you with the job after you graduated. So right. What was a little bit of the process like with you asking the question, is gymnastics it? And then you kind of ended up where you're at right now. What's your career been like, I guess you can say?
So after my career at Auburn was over, I came back to Texas, and I got offered the head coaching job at a little club gym called Achievers. And so that was kind of the start of the process. And the first year, it was still kind of like, I was dedicated, of course, but it was kind of that wishy-washy, like, I don't know. And then I spent my second year there and really fell in love with all of my girls, and just, I don't know, there's something about competition season that just brings athletes and coaches together like nothing else. And so after going through 2 seasons, like, I knew I loved it. And then the question kind of came like, okay, I know I want to move either ahead in gymnastics, like the next level, which would be either a bigger program or like college. And so then the question kind of came like, when I leave, do I want to take that next step, or do I want to see if there's something else that I would like to do? And so that's where those questions kind of came up. But the biggest part for me was I loved college gymnastics in general, but the biggest piece of it was how I grew up as a leader, because my sophomore year, I got thrown into that role, and I was very much lead by example. And then I got hurt my junior year. And so the only way like I could contribute to my team was by like speaking and inspiring in that way. And so I grew in that aspect of it, and coming back, I got to put those together. And then just the feeling of leading a team and like have everybody rally is just something else. So I knew I wanted to feel that again, and like be able to guide other people and inspire other people in some ways that I might not have had. And my club experience, that was kind of the reason for going back and taking that job, because my club experience wasn't the best, and I just wanted to be able to get the same result of like greatness, but in a different way, a more healthy way, more like encouraging, not so crushing way. But yeah.
Yeah. And so another thing you just made me think of is, do you think that because you went immediately into coaching gymnastics, you know, at the club, and then now you're at Utah State, do you think that being able to be that leader that you talked about and still being able to be around the sport, do you think that kind of helped soften the blow a little bit in terms of no longer being able to compete yourself? Or do you think, because for some people, and the reason I'm asking this, just so you know, some people, they want to stay around their sport because of that. They don't know anything else. They don't want to expand. But you were someone who was willing, like we talked about, to branch out and explore other things, but you ultimately came back. So now that you have stayed near gymnastics, do you think it helps soften the blow a little bit?
I feel like my story is a little bit different than others, because I know like sometimes staying around it and that closely, it just makes it worse. For me, like I had done it since I was 3 years old. I tried out for the Olympics. I made a world's team. I had done my career at Auburn. So it was kind of like I got to close that chapter and feel good about it. Like I had no regrets. And so for me, like by the time I was done, like I was totally okay with being done. And I mean, I miss doing some things and just doing gymnastics sometimes, but not to a point where I'm like staying around it just so I can feel that again. My favorite part of it was absolutely like conditioning as a team. Like when it's so hard, you guys just want to like lay on a couch and stay there for a couple hours. Like I loved being sore and I loved that piece of it, which I can still do now. But then it was just like bringing a team together when you're on the road to a common goal. Like I loved getting to lead and inspire and get everybody on the same page. So for me, like even more so now I get to do that like at a higher level. So
yeah. Oh, that's good. That's great, Abby. And I want to take a second. Maybe you can give some advice or maybe things for people to look out for. So let's just say if I'm a former athlete and I'm like, let's say I went back into coaching or something, right? And maybe I'm feeling the call to that maybe I should start looking outside or see if there's other things outside of my sport that I want to explore. I guess my real question is, what is it that had you start asking the question in the first place? And, what should people look out for as maybe like a sign that they should start at least asking the question if they should stay around the sport, or asking the question of, is there something else out there for me? Is there anything that you experience?
I think it was mostly just like thinking about like your life. I mean, we have one life and you've done your sport for so long. So it's kind of like, do I want to do the same thing for the rest of my life, or do I want to experience new things? And so that was kind of like why I asked the question. I just don't want to, like, I've never have, even in my career, I don't want to end up with regrets or what ifs. Coaching will always be there, especially if you're a former athlete. Like your resume for that never goes away. It'll always be there. So if you ever want to get back into it, there's most likely going to be a wide open door. But for the rest of it, we don't have as much experience in it, especially if you're like a high level athlete. Like you don't have that much time outside of it to go do internships and stuff like that. And so I just hadn't experienced anything outside of it. So I was like, okay, I don't want to get to the end of my life and look back and see I did the same thing if that was not what I truly wanted. So I guess it's just a lot of like self-reflecting and then like future thinking is what really made me ask the questions.
That's good. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you a follow-up question to that is, advice that anything that you would want to share. You could almost look at this as giving advice to your younger self, like after you walked across the stage at Auburn and you were trying to figure out what's next. What advice or what words of wisdom or encouragement would you want to share with a former athlete who's just really trying to figure it out? Maybe they just finished and they have no idea what their next step is going to be. They want to go on to do great things. They just don't know where to start. Can you give any advice to athletes who are in transition?
I would say like make a list of all the things that you know that you're interested in and try all of them. Get more no's than you get yeses. Like just be open to trying new things and possibly getting rejected. Like it's not that bad. But I think a lot of us have like that fear of rejection and like fear of failure, especially if you're an athlete. Like it just kind of goes together. But just try everything. It's like that saying, what is it, like throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. It's just like, why not?
Yeah, that's good. And it's funny, I like to ask that question because having fairly recently graduated, it's different for people, like, because there are athletes obviously who are transitioning who listen to, and that's anywhere from they just graduated to they might have been, they might have graduated or finished their professional career 2, 3, 4, 5 or more years ago. But the reason I like I wanted to ask you that question is because it's different from me sharing advice. When I graduated from college, and last time I was on the football field was 2012, 2013. You having just been on the other side of it, I think you sharing advice kind of has a different impact because it's so fresh. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you sharing that piece. And, while athletes are in the process of throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to see what sticks, do you think it's beneficial to, and obviously I'm biased, so you already know what my answer is, but do you think it's beneficial for athletes to find someone, not even necessarily a coach, but someone that they can talk to, even open up about things, or just to help them narrow down and find clarity? What's your opinion on athletes letting someone into their world to kind of help them through this transition and finding clarity?
Yeah, no, I 100% think that's the best idea. And I know, like, for me, I'm not exactly the most open person. And so letting somebody in isn't my first go-to, but it's just like people have experienced different things than you. Like, they have more wisdom in some areas than you might. And so it never hurts to hear somebody's side or let somebody in. They might have something that you've never heard. It's same thing in coaching. When another coach like says the same thing in a different way, sometimes it just hits different. And so it is so beneficial to have someone outside of your own little circle to give you advice or like help you in any way possible.
Awesome. What's next for you, Abby? I mean, you're at Utah State. You just moved there, recently married. You're in a great place right now. When you think about the future of Abby Hood, what do you see?
Well, there have been several questions of like, do you want to be a head coach, or do you want to like run a program or be in the top 5 like power schools and stuff like that? So hopefully that, like, I would love to get back into the SEC, and I don't know if I'll want to be a head coach or if I want to be a like assistant coach or something like that, but probably headed in that direction.
Copy that. And for people who want to follow that journey and just kind of see how it unfolds, or if they just want to get in touch with you and ask a question, or seek some encouragement through watching your journey, how can people get in touch with you or follow you on social media? Anything you want to share on that piece?
Yeah. My Instagram handle is now abbyhood24. You can always email me at amillay96@gmail.com. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. Well, like I said, I want to be respectful of your time. Before we close out, anything else you want to share with the people? There's coaches who listen to the show, former athletes, parents of athletes. Anything on your mind or your heart that you want to share with them before we close out?
Let's see. I think biggest thing is, if you have a fear of failure, let go of it, because life's too short.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Let's get the smoke machines and everything. That was great. Well, Abby, once again, I want to thank you for coming on and spending some time. I know people are gonna be able to find healing through you sharing your story, healing, encouragement, inspiration. And once again, I just want to acknowledge you for you being brave enough to ask the question, and to be able to explore different areas. And I'm very happy for you that ultimately you were in the exact same space with coaching that you were supposed to be. And like you said, it's not something that everybody should do. Some people would benefit more by exploring outside of their sport, but for you, it's the perfect fit. And I'm wishing you nothing but luck and success. And I know you're going to go on to do great things. I think you will end up back in the SEC someday as a head coach. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. I think you got like 5 years max. That's maximum. That's on the high end. Just my 2 cents. Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball or anything, like I always tell you, but just mark my words, folks. But yeah, so for anyone listening, thank you for being here with us on the Thrive After Sports podcast. I want to encourage you, if you're an athlete in need of transition support or services or just assistance, or you just need someone to talk to, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Visit athletesoul.org if you'd like to get set up with the scholarship through Athlete Soul. It's 100% free, you guys. So if you need support, don't hesitate to reach out. This is why we do what we do. This is why we have people like Abby on, to be able to show there are athletes seeking help and getting guidance, even if it's just to check in if they are on the right path. So with that being said, we'll close it out. And Abby, thank you again for your time. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.